Don't you ever accuse me of a crime. That's the moment the entire hearing exploded. What started as a routine congressional questioning suddenly turned into a fiery confrontation when a lawmaker directly accused Attorney General Pam Bondi of lying under oath. The tension had already been building for minutes, but everything changed the moment two photos appeared on the screen behind them. The images allegedly showed Prince Andrew standing beside a woman identified as a victim in Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking operation.
It says 40% of people approve of Trump's handling of immigration and border security, while 60% disapprove.
Without objection, admitted. Now I recognize the gentleman from California, Mr. Lieu.
Thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for being here today. I'm going to show you two photos.
Thank you.
I'm going to show you two photos of former Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. Under the law Congress passed, you were allowed to redact photos to protect the victims of Epstein's sex trafficking operation. You redacted the photos of this victim's face because you were following the congressional law. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, that we redacted the victim's
Because you were
face?
following the congressional law, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You have now established that please put the photos back up, that we are looking at a sex trafficking victim. Under the Federal Victims Trafficking Protection Act, not only is Jeffrey Epstein guilty, but anyone who patronizes Epstein's sex operation is also guilty of a crime. That's why I find it absolutely despicable that you sought to protect Epstein's clients, like former Prince Andrew. Last July, you closed the case on Epstein's abusers. The July 2025 memo from your Department of Justice stated, quote, "We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties." These two photos, please put the photos back up. These two photos staring you in the face are evidence of a crime and more than enough evidence to predicate an investigation against former Prince Andrew. So I ask you, Attorney General Pam Bondi, why did you shut down this investigation last July, and why have you not prosecuted former Prince Andrew?
I don't believe you asked Merrick Garland these questions when he was Attorney General and set before.
I agree with you.
You twice.
I'm reclaiming my time.
Never
I agree with
mentioned
you. I agree with you. During the Biden administration, I called for people looking at Epstein files. Merrick Garland dropped the ball, as did Attorney General Bill Barr, as did Alex Acosta, a whole string of failures, but you are in charge. You have the power to change things, to hold these men accountable, and you're doing the opposite. You're protecting them. So I want to move on to another man.
Can I answer
Donald
that,
Trump.
though?
I want to move on to another
Can I
question.
answer your question about protecting
You
Prince
answered the
Andrew?
question.
You're saying no. I love this.
I want to discuss another man, Donald Trump, who is all over the Epstein files, like former Prince. Here's the video. Like former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files.
I'm reclaiming my time. I got your answer. You said there's no evidence.
President Trump asked
Mr. Chairman, please stop the clock.
Stop
the clock.
The legislation. This is ridiculous.
Time belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center, because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein files.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is all on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you Here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop the limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell, so should the men who patronized his operation. And as we say here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
The gentleman has expired.
May I respond?
Yeah, I don't know how you respond. No one can.
I did not ask a question,
He
Ms.
doesn't
You're
want
allowed
to talk
to.
about
I did
the
not ask a
horrific
question.
crime in California. He does not want to talk about
I did not ask a
crime
question.
in his state.
You can't
Madam
just
Attorney
ad-lib
General.
stuff. I did not ask a
Trump.
question.
Meeting will be in order. The gentleman has yielded back his time. I think our next witness will be.
And when Bondi admitted that the woman's face had been redacted under federal trafficking protection laws, the congressman seized on the moment if the woman was legally recognized as a victim. Then why did the Department of Justice claim there wasn't enough evidence to investigate Epstein's powerful associates? What followed was a dramatic exchange involving accusations, missing evidence, explosive witness claims, and a growing demand to reveal what might still be hidden inside the Epstein files. And by the time the hearing ended, one thing was clear. This story is far from over. But to understand why the confrontation became so explosive, you have to start with the moment those photos appeared. The hearing was supposed to focus on transparency. Lawmakers were questioning Attorney General Pam Bondi about the Department of Justice's handling of the Epstein investigation and a controversial memo released months earlier. That memo stated that investigators had not uncovered evidence strong enough to open criminal cases against additional people connected to Epstein. But many critics weren't convinced. Some believed the government had closed the door too quickly on potential leads involving powerful individuals who had once been part of Epstein's social circle. So when the questioning began, the tension in the room was already noticeable. Then a congressman asked staff to display two images on the screen. The photos appeared to show Prince Andrew with a woman whose face had been blurred. According to the lawmaker, the redaction wasn't random. It was required by federal trafficking laws designed to protect victims' identities. He turned toward Bondi and asked a direct question. Was the woman's face hidden because she had been identified as a victim of Epstein's trafficking operation? Bondi confirmed that the redaction followed congressional guidelines intended to protect victims. And that single answer triggered the next wave of accusations. Because if the photos involved a confirmed trafficking victim, critics argued that the images could raise serious questions about who else might have been involved in Epstein's network. But the debate was only beginning, because the next part of the exchange focused on one of the most controversial figures connected to the Epstein scandal. Prince Andrew's connection to Jeffrey Epstein has been the subject of intense scrutiny for years. The British royal had previously admitted to spending time with Epstein, though he has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing. Still, the relationship alone sparked global headlines. Photos of Andrew with Epstein had already circulated publicly in the past, but the images shown during the hearing were part of a larger batch of newly released files tied to the investigation. The congressman argued that the images alone raised serious questions if someone was photographed interacting with a trafficking victim connected to Epstein's operation. Critics say that should at least trigger further investigation. But the Department of Justice memo released earlier claimed investigators did not find evidence strong enough to pursue criminal cases against additional individuals. And that contradiction was exactly what the lawmaker focused on. That he pointed to the screen again and argued that the photos were evidence staring everyone in the face. If the victim had already been identified under federal law, how could investigators claim there was nothing worth pursuing? Bondi pushed back, saying the memo reflected the findings of investigators who reviewed the available material. But by that point, the argument had already escalated, and suddenly, the hearing shifted to another name that often appears in discussions about Epstein: Donald Trump. As the questioning continued, the congressman pivoted to another figure who had crossed paths with Epstein in the past: Donald Trump. Like many wealthy and well-known individuals in the 1990s and early 2000s, Trump attended social events where Epstein was also present. Photos and videos from those years show the two men at parties together, though Trump later distanced himself from Epstein and reportedly banned him from one of his properties years before Epstein's arrest. During the hearing, the lawmaker asked Bondi directly whether there had ever been underage girls present at events attended by Trump and Epstein. Bondi responded sharply. She said there was no evidence that Trump committed any crime related to Epstein's activities. The congressman quickly interrupted, saying he had heard enough. But the debate was about to take an even more dramatic turn, because the lawmaker then introduced something no one in the room expected: a witness statement. And what he claimed the witness heard would send the hearing into chaos. The congressman held up a document and said it came from someone who had contacted the FBI's National Threat Operations Center. According to him, the witness had worked as a limousine driver years earlier. The driver allegedly claimed he overheard a phone conversation between Trump and Epstein. The lawmaker said the witness later spoke to a young woman who made disturbing claims about the two men. He argued that the witness had been willing to talk to authorities but was never formally interviewed. That's when the tension reached its peak. Bondi became visibly frustrated. She strongly denied the accusation that she had lied under oath. The room erupted into overlapping voices as lawmakers attempted to regain control of the hearing. At one point, Bondi warned the congressman not to accuse her of criminal conduct. The exchange became so heated that the committee chair had to intervene to restore order. But even as the hearing ended, the controversy continued spreading far beyond that room, because at the same time, a massive release of Epstein-related files was unfolding, and the documents raised even more questions. Around the same time as the hearing, millions of pages of Epstein-related materials were being released to the public. The files included images, emails, travel records, and other documents connected to Epstein's network. Officials described the release as one of the largest disclosures related to the case. Supporters said it was a major step toward transparency. But critics quickly noticed something troubling. Large portions of the documents were still redacted, some sections were blacked out entirely, and in some cases, important details appeared to be missing. Among the released materials were images connected to Prince Andrew and various email exchanges involving powerful figures. The files also referenced communications between Epstein and well-known individuals in business, politics, and technology. Most of those people have denied any involvement in Epstein's crimes. Still, the appearance of their names in the documents fueled even more speculation online. But what shocked many observers wasn't just who appeared in the files. It was how the information had been handled, because some victims say the release created a whole new problem. Several attorneys representing Epstein's victims spoke out after the document release. They said many survivors were devastated to discover that their identities had been revealed in the files. Some victims had spent years protecting their anonymity through the use of Jane Doe legal filings. But when the documents became public, some of those names appeared unredacted. For survivors who had already endured years of trauma, the exposure felt like a betrayal. Lawyers argued that the government had promised to protect victims' identities. Instead, they said the release caused additional harm. Critics described the situation in two possible ways. At best, it was a careless mistake. At worst, some believe it raises questions about whether the document release was handled properly at all. Either way, trust in the system took another hit. And that leads to the biggest mystery still surrounding the Epstein case. Because even after millions of documents were released, many people believe the full story still hasn't been told. Years after Epstein's arrest and death, the case continues to generate global attention. Investigators have confirmed that Epstein ran a trafficking operation involving numerous victims. But questions remain about the network of powerful people who moved in his social circles. Thousands of documents related to the investigation remain sealed or heavily redacted. Some officials say the remaining information cannot be released due to privacy laws and ongoing legal concerns. Others argue that the public deserves complete transparency. Online speculation has grown dramatically as people try to piece together clues from the available documents. But speculation and verified evidence are not the same thing. And that's where the story becomes complicated, because the truth may lie somewhere between what has been revealed and what may never be fully known. The explosive hearing confrontation showed just how divided the Epstein investigation still is. That on one side are officials who say the major investigations have already reached their conclusions. On the other are critics who believe key questions remain unanswered. Photos, documents, witness claims, and survivor testimony continue to fuel debate around the world. And with so many files still hidden behind redactions, the mystery surrounding Epstein's network hasn't disappeared. In fact, it may only be growing. Because the biggest question isn't just what we've already seen in the Epstein files, that it's what might still be missing.